Greetings, David. I want to thank you for doing this interview for us. It is wonderful to have a leader of your status and all the work that you're doing in Detroit with Detroit Community Care Network as is a senior executive director or executive director. Talk to us a little bit about the work that you're doing there and all the things you're really doing to help transform Detroit.
First of all, I'd just like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you on this morning. And my official title, as I put it, and I don't know who gives titles, I gave myself this title, is Managing Director. We are not a nonprofit. We are an L3C, which is a limited liability corporation. However, we were built with a charitable purpose. Detroit Community Care Network is a faith-based organization that's made up of member churches where we take lay volunteers and train those individuals in a standard of care on how to serve those in poverty called Transition to Success. And our folks have gone on to go on to Wayne State University to become state certified community health workers. So we're a group of churches made up of trained lay individuals from the community and from our ministries that have the heart to serve our community. And we serve those in our community in need, connecting them to programs, services, resources, and information that has a positive impact in their lives.
And from our prior conversations, I know it's a great number of churches that participate in this effort. Is 15 or 25? How many churches are participating in this effort?
No, we actually started, this initially started in 2017 at my personal church, which is Third New Hope Baptist Church, under the leadership of our esteemed retired pastor, Reverend Dr. E.L. Branch. And since then, we have grown from one church to 12 churches currently, with over 42 individuals who have been trained in Transition to Success, with 27 of those individuals now becoming state certified community health workers.
That's amazing. I tell you, the work that you do has really just been impactful and transformative for the community. So we want to get into partnerships and community engagement. So can you talk to us a little bit about the role of partnership and community engagement, and how does that factor in the success of your work?
Well, truly understand that the Detroit Community Care Network model is really not one of replacing or coming out with services or programs of its own. We are not a funded organization. We did not get grant funding to continue to serve in this capacity. So what we had to do is use other people's money. That's called OPM, other people's money, right? So there are already wonderful existing programs out there that exist to meet the needs of our community. And what we do is we help coordinate and facilitate and be that conduit through which those stakeholders who are funded to provide housing resources, food resources, transportation and employment opportunities, they're already funded to do that work. And so it's very critical that we are a collaborative organization. As a matter of fact, one of our core values at Detroit Community Care Network is collaboration, because that is how we get our work done, partnering with other organizations who are already funded to provide the services and programs that they do provide.
Wow, what I've learned as we segue now into our work with the Regional Health Collaborative work that we're doing, what I've come to realize is the future of this work is collaborative. The future of this work is around community engaged stakeholders who are giving information and sharing back their lived experience, so that can further empower the work, so they can have better health outcomes, so they can reach this thing of equity and access to the things that they need when they need them. So if you could kind of talk to us a little bit about what it sounds like that's what brought you to the Regional Health Collaborative, but can you talk a little bit about that work that we're doing with the RHC and how it's impacting the work that you're doing?
Well, the Regional Health Collaborative is really a cornerstone for, if you will, for the type of work, and I would call it a great incubator for organizations like Detroit Community Care Network, because you bring together collaborative partnerships from different disciplines within our community of health and well-being, from federally qualified health centers that are a part of our work, to the health insurance plans who are the payers and stakeholders who support the members that they have with health and well-being, to organizations that have very specific needs or very specific issues that they're dealing with, like parenting, having an organization like the Detroit Parent Network who helps parents continue to be great parents that they are to our children. All these different facets of organizations that come together in a collaborative effort, to me, that really speaks to who Detroit Community Care Network is. To be able to partner with these organizations and to be able to understand what they have to offer, and then to be able to have them be willing partners to offer up their services and programs to those that we serve. It just really it's a great opportunity for us, and it's a great opportunity for the community to be able to have a collaboration such as the one that we have.
So in our collaboration, we throw around terms like interoperable, closed loop. Can you talk to us a little bit about why that's important right now?
Well, when you start talking interoperable and closed loop, a lot of people may not understand what that means. But from historically speaking, individuals, these resources and these programs have existed in our community for years. The food programs, the employment opportunity programs, and job skilling and right skilling, and all these things have existed. But if people don't know how to engage or how to access those resources and programs, and if they don't know about them, then how can they take advantage of them? So it's very critical for all of us to come together, one, to learn about what each of us do, right? And then to truly understand and have a meaningful understanding of what the community needs are. And how do we gather that information? Well, we gather that information through assessing communities using technologies that we are being made available to use, such as the co-op, those types of platforms that allow us to gather the data to make sure that the data supports the work, and so this interoperability and closed loop means that we have the ability to assess, understand the needs, make referrals for what we feel are those resources and programs that can meet those needs, and then have the ability to follow up with tools and technology that allow us to see whether or not the individual was able to receive that which they needed, and to be able to document and validate, because a lot of times we send people out for a referral in the past and we never knew what happened. And
Right.
not knowing what happened, we might have believed that we did something wonderful, but if the person never got access to what it is that we were recommending or referring them to, then that was just really a waste of our time and their time, and it does no one any good. And so the whole thing around the closed loop is to be able to follow a client from the beginning, where you make an assessment, find a need, make a referral, and then validate that that referral was able to support and help the individual with what it was that they needed. And once you are able to start to close the loops on these referrals, people will have better outcomes and be more willing to engage with you because of understanding that you can help them get things done and meet the needs that they have.
That's amazing. And I've heard you talk about data, and even in this response, we're still talking about the power of data. Can you kind of talk to us a little bit about how how the use of data can increase access to healthcare. The better use of data can narrow those gaps, can increase access, improve outcomes for each person. So can you talk to us about the role that how you see data being used to make a difference?
Well, a lot of times, organizations have their missions and their visions, and they deliver what it is they deliver. We are at this point in time now, when we start to believe that we have the answers, if you will, sometimes you might be missing the mark by delivering services or programs that really aren't meeting the needs of individuals. So, in order to truly understand what the needs are, you have to have data. You have to be able to assess, you have to be able to ask questions of those who you hope to serve, right? The clients that we hope to serve. You need to get their input. What is it that they truly need? Sometimes we think we have the answers and we know what people need, but sometimes you just need to step back and ask the question, what is it that you need? And then you will be able to discover a lot of synergies around what some of the common issues are within your community, right? So, if, say, as an example, if you were on the northwest side of Detroit, and you have our faith-based partners on the northwest side of Detroit, and we were assessing that community, and say we were able to assess 1,000 individuals in the northwest corner of Detroit, and we found out that there was a high propensity for obesity. Okay. So instead of talking about different programs that might have nothing to do with exercise or managing your weight or any of that, you might be talking about other programs. I think to be able to have data that says this community really has an issue with obesity, to be able to focus in and say, okay, what resources are available and what things can we begin to put in place to help this issue. That data then can help us maybe decide that we need to maybe start to do exercise programs at some of our faith-based partner churches, where we open up opportunities for people to come in, not going to the powerhouse gym and having to pay funding, or going to the LA Fitness where they can't afford a membership, and some of these gyms aren't even in the areas where we live. To be able to have our community partners open up their spaces to be able to put on some dance classes or yoga sessions and things of that nature, to specifically address what the need is for that particular community that's been identified through our assessments, through the data that we've gathered. And we do have need to gather data, and we do have the tools to gather that very data that we're talking about. And so that's something that I'm really excited about working with the collaboration that we have, is that we have the tools and we have the understanding to ask the right questions to gather the data. And then it's our willing spirit to want to find solutions, if you will, to meet the needs of our community. That's what I'm excited about in this work.
David, you really led me to my next question. And I'm excited to ask you this question because I'm going to ask you to take me in the kitchen and show me how the sausage is made, on how do you get the community to trust you? How do you get the community to let you come in and, share with them your capabilities, share and learn from them what they need? How do you kind of build those relationships? Because we both know oftentimes with marginalized, underrepresented, under-resourced communities, trust isn't always automatically there with the institutions that are meant to do them well, because other institutions may have mismanaged relationships and opportunities. So there's a healthy amount of distrust or indifference or apathy. How do you build trust so that your communities can believe that you're there as a partner in their health and well-being to help bring positive outcomes for them?
That's a good question, Arthur. I mean, I'm not going to act as though I'm an expert in how to do that, right? I can just share with you from my heart what it is that I believe. And truly what I believe is you show people who you are. And when you start to show people who you are over a period of time and they see the consistency of who you are, they start to believe, right? So truly one thing that I thought was very important in this work, I come from a faith-based background, born and raised, um, having to go to church, as a young kid. And, my grandmother was a saint, if you will, and she was a saint in our community, and everyone recognized her as such. And I don't care what was going on. Her daughter, my mother, better have her grandkids in church every Sunday. And I got to see, if you will, love, how she loved on people, how, I was just raised with that whole faith base and understanding that the church is a staple, foundation in our community for helping people, for loving on people, and all that. So with that spirit coming here to Detroit, I just knew that the faith-based community was the conduit and was the one institution that people trusted already, right? They may not have a trust in a specific individual, a pastor or the leader of a particular church, because we do have some issues with pastors maybe not being as faithful and truthful as they should be, but the institution of the church itself is respected. And so when people are in need and they're at their last wit's end and they don't know where to go, they'll go to the church for help, right? So what we've done is just, our work is built on a foundation of trust, empathy, compassion. And all I ask when people say, well, how can I be a part of your work and how do we get involved? I said, first of all, the first number one thing you got to do is have a heart to serve. If you don't have a heart to serve, this is not for you, right? So with that spirit, our organization has been built with people that have the heart to serve. And over we started in 2017, this is 2015, we launched in June of 2017, we're on an 8-year anniversary this month, right? After 8 years of serving, people have now know through word of mouth that when they've reached out to the Detroit Community Care Network, we were different. We weren't the type of agency that had all these demands on things that they had to do to get served and so forth. We just served with a compassionate heart and with empathy in our heart. And the word of mouth has gotten around that the Detroit Community Care Network cares about the people that they serve. We actually go a step beyond. I'll give you a classic example. We had a client call our hotline about 3 weeks ago. She was a single mother with 4 kids, a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And her lights had been cut off. She had called every agency. She had called all the different players in the community that this is what they're supposed to do. Several of the key organizations that are funded. These folks are funded to do this work. There was no more funding available. And this was May. This isn't even the first half of the year gone, and they're already out of funding.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't help her. They didn't give her any other options. When she called us, she was at her wit's end. She didn't know what to do. She says, I don't know what to do. My lights are off. I can't, we can't live like this. I've got these 4 kids here. They're in school. When they get home from school, I don't know what we're going to do. And I said, you know what? We're going to take you through our process. And I asked her to go through and fill out an SER, which is a state emergency relief form, to be able to get relief from the state of Michigan. They have a program for those with utility issues like this. Well, she filled out the form. She got rejected. So wow. Now once you get rejected, there's really not much else to do. And so I said, you know what? Detroit Community Care Network is all about helping people. And we worked with DTE. DTE shared with her and with myself, as we both were on the line with DTE, that if she could come up with $260, that they would turn her lights back on, and lights and gas back on, and put her on a payment plan. So guess what Detroit Community Care Network did? We're not funded by anybody, but Detroit Community Care Network paid that $260 deposit, got her lights back on, and now her and her kids, when they got home from school, they had lights and heat. And so there were plenty of organizations that have a lot more money and resources than Detroit Community Care Network, but they're not flexible enough to be able to transition beyond what their policies and procedures say. And Detroit Community Care Network, being who we are, we have a heart to serve. We just do what we have to do, and we don't have those barriers, if you will, of policies and procedures that won't allow us to be flexible. So we are a flexible organization. Now, how many people do you think that young lady will share her experience with, that if someone else is in this situation, that they might reach out to Detroit Community Care Network? That's how we get clients. That's how we do
everybody
our work.
far and right.
That's how people begin to believe and trust, because we treat people with respect. We have empathy and compassion for what they are going through, and we go beyond the traditional ways, and we make things happen.
Wow. As we get ready to wrap up here, I just want to thank you for your work, and thank you for all the things that you do, large and small, to make a difference. Because it's one thing to talk about it, but it's a whole other thing to walk it out. And, when you do have that heart to serve, that is the difference maker, because you lead with, not with a problem, but with empathy. You lead with, first let me understand, so that I can, really be of service in this situation, and be mindful that in these situations, when we have vulnerable populations that are at risk and they're asking for help, that we don't demonize them for asking for help because they had a need. You said, what do you need? Let me join you in this journey of finding a resource. And you stuck with her, because you could have just submitted that document and then that would have been it. Okay, I helped. But no, that string, that connection was still there. So when it didn't go through, you were still there to say, okay, now what? And you were there with her and that family through that pivot of now what. So that's powerful. That really shows evidence of the character of yourself as a leader, as a human, and also the character of your organization, the Detroit Community Care Network. Any final thoughts here on the power of partnership and collaboration?
Well, I just want to thank you and SEMHA for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful work. I respect both yours and Lisa Braddock's leadership in this work. I appreciate the opportunity to have a voice, if you will, in how this work is being delivered, and you just helping us facilitate this work and making sure that our community is put in the forefront, if you will, of the work and what it is that we're trying to deliver. The impact that this work will make in our community, I believe, is not yet to be seen, but it's going to be a very powerful impact. And I think as long as we're continuing to work together and collaborate as partners with an open spirit of serving, I think we can do some tremendous work and make some powerful impacts in the lives of those in our community.
Well, you know what? We're gonna drop the mic on that, because it's hard to follow up with that. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your partnership, your leadership. This work is not without its challenges, but when you do this type of work together, that power of partnership is even more pronounced, because you understand the strengths and weaknesses of your partners and how we can kind of dance this dance of partnership more effectively together, as we all are navigating shortfalls in staffing, shortfalls in capabilities, shortfalls in funding, we're able to navigate these uncharted waters together in transparency and in partnership. So I want to just thank you for your time and your leadership. It's really been a joy talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much as well, Arthur. You have a blessed day.
You too.